So, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Turn 5 podcast, where we bring it to you a week later than originally planned because, well, it was Christmas and therefore everything sort of went down the pan pretty quickly. I was working, everyone else was busy, so we decided to just push everything back and just do it this week instead. So, here we are. This week, we are bringing you our 2021 season review and looking back at how our predictions have done from before the season kicked off, way back in March, 9 months ago now.
Yeah.
What? Makes me feel old. Then again, all of you are younger than me, so that makes me feel old anyway. Yay!
Welcome.
Let's kick this off with, let's just go for your rough review, your brief review of the season as a whole. Which is quite challenging considering the season we've had.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Oh God.
I mean, as a whole, I'm just going to go for epic. Because it was really. It had quite literally everything, be that good and bad. And it went as much as we asked for it. It went down to the final race. And within that, it went down to the final lap. So we're not going to get into the politics of it all, but, you know, just as a season as a whole, it was brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it.
He's going to chuck in a bit of while he was still bent-headed.
Yep.
It's that Welsh word for like brilliant, amazing, all that. So bent-headed.
Pick out all the superlatives you can.
Yeah, that is literally what it means, basically.
Beautiful. Okay. Ben, in your assessment of things, however I feel I know what your answer might be, what is your best race from 2021?
Monza.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
As soon as I asked the question, I was like, wait a minute. I think, weirdly enough, it's probably the first time, if you'd asked me, like, what's your race of the year every year? I think it's the first time I'd named the same venue 2 years in a row.
Yeah. But it's definitely, like, even putting, like, my bias aside, it's still one of the best races of the year.
I'm going with something different because I still haven't seen that race because I was working when Monza was on. So and it's not on F1 TV yet, so I'm going with Hungary because I've seen the race. So it might change once they put it on F1 TV, but right now
it's what, the new year it comes out, isn't it?
Not that long.
No, exactly. So she'll bring you updates as per next week.
Yeah, when it comes out, you'll get my updated version.
So, what do I want? My favourite race of the season. Well, because yes, Monza was epic, and McLaren won too. Hungary was just unexpected and chaotic beyond belief. Oh, do I just throw in a random one and just be like, why not? There was so much that happened this season that it's now how to pick.
Another one I thought was quite good was Baku, because I'd never seen Baku before.
See, Baku was okay, but it was largely.
Most of it was kind of uneventful, but
yeah,
like
exactly.
both the same tyre on two different cars going. Then the like 2-lap shootout, Lewis messing up, and that was quite exciting for the first time I've watched Baku. So.
See, part of me wants to say Austria, as in actual, like the second one that we did in Austria, because they swapped the order this year. So it was Styria first, then Austria. But
I don't even remember what happened in Austria.
I would also throw France in there just because it was so unexpectedly
good.
Yeah.
Part of me also kind of wants to throw in Qatar just because Alonso got a podium. And that was mental. But I think I would have to say Monza, just because it was. I don't remember the last time I was that on the edge of my seat for so long in a race, and that is wholly down to my team bias. But it was great, and I think my blood pressure probably tripled for that duration. But no, I loved it. Once we got out over the initial disappointment of Hungary, then the rest of the race was, it was good. And then, you've had various other ones where we've had fights back through the field or whatever, but I think those two would probably be the standouts of the season. Just looking at my list of things to cover. So, Nia, from the vast pool of 3 drivers, name your best rookie.
It's not a hard choice. It's Tsunoda.
Ben?
You got, Kyle.
So I would go for Mick, just because I think Yuki has been a little inconsistent in a way.
See, part of me wants to say Mick because he's done pretty much what was expected of him.
Yeah.
He was given a boat of a vehicle and he absolutely demolished his teammate week in, week out. Part of me also wants to say Yuki because he had good patches of form, but he was inconsistent. His qualifying definitely needs work.
Like from
a red flag perspective.
When Yuki's good in the race, he's good, but then a lot of the time he's not. So I guess it is kind of in between Mick and Yuki because Mick he got into Q2 twice, I think. Once because he crashed and stopped and caused a red flag, so no one else could set a time. But the second time he actually did get in with an actual time. Like,
honestly can't remember when that was.
But he did do what was expected of him, sometimes a little bit more.
Yeah, but equally he also had mistakes.
He had quite a few shots.
Like dropping it under the safety car at Imola being
Monaco.
a prime example. Monaco not even getting into qualifying because of crashing in Q3 FP3. So it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You could argue it either way, but at the end of the day, they've both been retained for next season.
I think we can all agree that
it's not the other one.
The third one is not Rookie of the Year.
He could get the most improved award.
What, from being 2 seconds off the back of the pack to 1 second off the back of the pack?
But yeah, if you think that he's gone from making 3 corners a race to making
all of them.
Yeah.
There's a consider. Well, from there, the only way was up. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! it's just a shame, really, that he's that slow and it's taking up a seat.
Mm.
But the
When you
money
have
is enough to keep him in.
when you have Oscar Piastri, a three-time consecutive champion in like three different championships, rookie champions, and Mazepin, who has
Yeah.
and Oscar doesn't.
And Callum Ilott waiting in the wings, Jack
And-
Aitken waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
The wealth of talent that's just sort of sat on the sidelines is highly disappointing when you see that people like Mazepin are in a seat. And for the sake of argument, I hope that Guan Yu Zhou also pulls a good amount of pace out, because otherwise it's going to be exactly the same situation,
Yeah.
which would be somewhat disappointing, considering he didn't win the F2 title
How long has he been in F2? It's like 3 years?
a while, and it looked like he was going to win it purely based on the fact that the top 4 in front of him left for other series. So, and then he still didn't manage to win it. So it's, yeah, I think he's definitely going to have a serious amount of pace, especially going up against a teammate like Bottas, who, since his contract has been significantly improved, I think it's fair to say. But we shall have to wait and see on that front. Okay. Who was your best driver in 2021?
Me.
And my answer makes me very glad that the other two aren't here.
I'm gonna say Carlos because new team and all that, and he did kind of bash Charles, like not massively out the water, but he did. I think he beat him in the standings, did he? Yeah. So like,
Yeah, Carlos came 5th.
new team and like everything, never had anything to do with Ferrari. So I think DV was like the standout driver for me.
Ben?
Max, it's not really a debate for me. Like Max has just been unbelievable all year. Like he's like most top 3s in the season. He's got like how many podiums this year?
Yeah, he didn't get a third place at all when he was
Yeah, which is
when
crazy.
he was on the podium. He was first or second.
Yeah,
in most places.
And yeah, mine would be Max as well. That's nothing against Lewis or Carlos or other drivers who have done very well this season. It's just the fact that Max has stepped up his game this year, and when Max and Lewis are out in front, it is a different kind of pace altogether. Like those guys are a second a lap faster than a half of the field, which is obscene. And well, I mean, just to take the fight to 7-time constructors champions and 7-time world champion is just, yeah, it's to be able to step up your game and just, I mean, yeah, for the first half of the season, you kind of think, okay, well, you know, there's still a long way to go. Anything could happen at this point. But then to just maintain your nerve towards the end of the season where everything becomes more important, especially when you get into that sort of range where one DNF is the difference. No, I think Max made good improvements this year. Don't get me wrong, that's not to say that there aren't things he can still improve upon. Questionable braking, maybe one of them. But no, he was definitely my standout driver of the season. But my most underrated driver / flown under the radar sort of driver would be Pierre Gasly for me.
I was going to say the same.
I know he had a few incidents that were not ideal, like Bahrain, where he lost his front wing on the first lap. But he has very consistently been top 4, 5, 6 in qualifying and in the points in races.
A lot of time he's been screwed over by strategy, hasn't he?
Yes, Imola being a big example of that. Yeah, I mean, he got that, well, okay, somewhat fortunate podium in Baku, and he's had a couple of 4th places, a few 5th places, lots of 6th places. So, you know, he's sort of been in that sort of mid top 10,
like best of the rest.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, which for a team like AlphaTauri is pretty damn good going. So, and I mean, when you look at the amount of points that he's got from AlphaTauri's total, it kind of lets you know who's been doing the heavy lifting. So
I think that was kind of expected as well.
yeah. I mean, rookie season. So yeah, it's not like, I guess the best comparison you'd have is Hamilton in 2007 stepping into a title-winning car. Yuki doesn't have that kind of machinery under his foot. So, you know, he was doing what was expected, which was to sort of get up to speed. And I think towards the end of the season, he showed that he was getting there. Anyone else got any other choices for underrated, or have we all agreed?
Just for something different, I've chose Sebastian Vettel.
Interesting.
Just from last year, his year was obviously terrible. And the start of this year, it didn't start great either, especially after his first race when he punts Ocon and gets like 6 penalty points in his first race. You think, oh, great. In a crap car again. And then since Monaco, where he got the P5, his season's been really good, especially in the car that's like 7th quickest to get into the top 10 fairly consistently. It's been very good from him.
Yeah, he's had a fairly, what I'd describe as a lumpy season.
Yeah.
And as much as he has had a good run, he's also not exactly had the luck of the draw. Hungary being the easiest example of that. Could quite have easily been his 2nd podium of the season. Which, if you'd said after pre-season testing that, you know, Vettel would walk away with 2 second place trophies, I'd have laughed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that car looked nowhere.
And it was nowhere.
Yeah. But to be fair, they did make some rather inspired strategy choices when they needed to.
Yeah.
Monaco being the probably best example of that, because they just overcut so many people. It was brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from with this stuff, but I think his luck was a bit too inconsistent for me. It's because he had so many, he had a number of DNFs from mechanical failures or other issues, you know, so yeah, I mean, that's nothing against him. It's just, you know, it's it's the way the season goes. I mean, to an extent, could you put Alonso in the same sort of thing? Because
he did pull out a few masterclasses.
Coming into the season, people were wondering if he still had it. And I think it's fair to say he's proven that he still does. And he's somewhat matured in his approach to things. Hungary has definitely shown that one with his defense to win the race for his teammate rather than him.
Is that also a part of where the team are as well, though?
Yeah, I think he realizes
yeah.
there's not much how far he's not going to go too far thing. So
he's not coming into this under false pretenses. He's not been told you're in a championship winning vehicle and then is actually P17. No, so I think it's a more grounded Alonso than the one that left the sport a couple of years ago. I think he was somewhat, disillusioned from what he was told to what he received. But his form has been most part quite good. Obviously, there is the very good and the very questionable. But I think over the course of the season, most drivers have had that. Maybe just Max and Lewis that haven't. On the flip side of that, who would be your most overrated of the season?
It pains me to say it, but I think Lando. Because at the start, first half of the season, he was doing quite well, like 3 podiums, I think, for the first half. So he was doing quite well there, but the second half of the season, apart from Monza, obviously, is like,
I feel like
that could be the car though, but like,
yeah, because they had to spend their development tokens to get the new engine in the chassis. So the teams behind them, like Ferrari, were able to spend their development tokens elsewhere and make gains, which is what we saw towards the end of the season. I don't think Lando's necessarily underperformed to expectations. I think he's performed about where the car is. I think Danny Rick has underperformed.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me to say that, because I love him.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's been, I think over the season, Danny would be the worst culprit of it. But in patches at different points throughout the season, I'd say that Charles, Checo, and Valtteri have all underperformed. Charles is more qualified really well and then just was nowhere in the race, sort of thing, or in Monaco just wasn't in the race. So it's one thing to get the car somewhere, it's another thing to keep it there, which is a lot easier to do when you're at the back. Ask Mazepin. He's an expert now. But when you're fighting for a world championship in both constructors, well, in constructors in this case, because let's face it, both of these guys know that they're number twos. The dodgy races that they each had, you look back at that and think that could have cost them a lot. Like Checo getting that penalty for overtaking under the safety car in Imola, where would that have put him had he not done that? Part of me wants to say what would have happened had Bottas not gone bowling, but at the same time, part of me also says, and that's a shrewd bit of tactics because that's wiped out both Red Bulls. Cut your losses. But then you've got, it's just they've.
I think this question's quite a difficult one.
Yeah, it's just
because,
I mean, you look at the pace difference between them and their teammates, and I mean, you can't say that they're performing exceptionally well because that's what their teammates are doing. You can say they're performing averagely for the machinery.
Like you can give a bit of an excuse to Checo because it's his first year in the Red
Oh, yeah.
Bull. But Valtteri,
No.
what happened there?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Checo had points in the season where he very much proved why he was where he was. Baku being the first example we saw of that, because when something went wrong for Max, he was there. Still got a win for Red Bull. Job's good. And then Abu Dhabi, the brick wall came up. But Bottas being, given a cheeky 5-place grid penalty to hold Max up in the middle of the field and then just see you later. It's just, I don't think he performed to his best. But then you'd see him after he got his Alfa Romeo contract, and suddenly it all started coming back. It all sort of started clicking back into place. So part of me wonders if it's like a team ethos that was affecting his mentality towards his racing. And now he's got out of that, he can just go, I'm just going to race. He's now going to become the new Kimi and give one-word answer to interviews. But yeah, I think if you compare them to their teammates, those two are the biggest underperformers. But I think over the course of the season, I'd have to say Daniel.
Yeah.
So, because I think I'm rightly saying when we did our predictions, all of us put Ricardo
You're putting pretty high up.
above Norris.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and check that because I'm doubting it. Ben did. Chris did. Alex didn't. Alex was the only one that didn't. He did, and I did. Yeah, so Alex was the only one that got that the right way around. But yeah, I think there was higher expectations, I feel, and I think that's what's shot him in the foot essentially. When you look at other driver moves that have happened, there hasn't been, sky high expectations of things. I mean, part of me wants to sort of compare it to Checo going to Red Bull. It's like, he's not going to be there to win the championship. He's going to be there to win the occasional race, but he's there for podiums and backup. So, that's not really he's not really undersold the expectation department there. He's done what was everyone probably expected of him there. But I mean, yes, Daniel got a win, but it was very fortunate circumstances.
I think with Daniel, he was like Checo was moving from midfield to a championship winning team. Daniel was kind of moving
midfield
from
to midfield.
Midfield to midfield. So we kind of had the same expectations. But at Renault, he'd been there for 2 years. And then like new engine, new all this. So like it's kind of circumstances, but also.
So next year's going to be the big one, really. As sort of a fresh playing field for everyone. A soft reboot, as they probably call it somewhere. So I think that will really separate the good from the great and the bad from the worse. Mazepin 3 seconds a lap slower. Anyone? And then I think I only need one word to answer this last one, and I think you two probably have exactly the same word. But if I say worst race, you'd say
What a race that was.
oh, then again, because that wasn't a race. So
Yeah.
race that actually
Technically.
ran.
Race longer than 2 laps.
Yeah. So because obviously
So-
the worst race was Spa, but the worst full distance race was
Monaco.
Monaco.
Mm.
See, when I first done this, I put worst race. I put Monaco straight away. Looked at the calendar and realized there was Belgium. So I was like,
Yeah, see
oh,
that.
We just all forgot about
It wasn't until just then that I remembered that Spa happened.
yeah,
Because I was just like, worst race, Monaco, easy.
I was talking to my friend earlier because she's starting to get into F1. I was like, yeah, usually avoid France and all that. So I was like, oh yeah, avoid Belgium this year. Just don't.
France this year, yes. Belgium this year,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
just the old switcheroo.
Yeah.
Avoid Belgium this year. Go to France.
Yeah, if you'd said that to like
Yeah,
someone
if you
who'd
said it
watched
at
the
the
last
start,
5 seasons, they'd be
if you
like,
said
what
at the
do you
start
want?
of this year, it'd be like, what?
Excuse me, sir. What? What? Nah, yeah, I think it's just a letdown, but it's there for the prestige.
yeah.
But
The weird thing about both of them is the fact that their quali sessions were unbelievable.
I still have no gripes about Spa quality specifically.
But apart from that one moment,
Apart
it
from
was
Michael
still
Massey's clouded judgment.
yeah, it was still a very, very good quali session and a
Yes,
crap race.
yes. But part of me now hopes that with the new regs, because they've got smaller cars, maybe it'll work around Monaco. So
It worked for Formula E, and their cars are smaller, so I'm hoping it's more like that. Because
well, to an
that
extent, it works for Formula 2. So
yeah, kind of looks promising, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not as amazing as other series, but at the same time, you know, it's still better than Formula One. At least there's an overtake.
And
Sorry,
not
2
Blanche.
overtakes, because we saw 1 overtake, and that was Mick dive bombing the absolute living daylights out of Mazepin.
Then we have some action, and then Lance
Lance
Stroll.
Stroll. See, that wasn't even an overtake. That was the depressing thing. We all think, oh my God, action. And it actually wasn't. Sadness. Okay. Which race on the 2022 calendar are you most looking forward to?
I would say Spa, just because I might be going. So
And we bring you live from the scene.
other
It's the
than
same
that,
as this year.
yeah, if
same
it
as
is,
you
then
stood
it'd
there
be
with
the
the
worst
brolly.
thing. You won't see me again.
Yeah, you go to Spa, it's just the same thing. You just stood there with the brolly, like, yep, go great.
Mate, what an absolute legendary vlog that would be.
I just cry on the circuit, and then you see like man arrested for crying on the Spa track,
Making it too wet, even though it's 6 foot underwater already.
What was how you're crying because it'd be just so wet from the rain.
But other than Spa, I'd say in some sort of way, maybe Australia, for the fact that changes might work. It probably won't, but
we don't know until we go.
Yeah.
I'm just going with these 3 purely because I've never seen them. Australia, Singapore, and Japan, because I've never seen the races. So there's, yeah.
I think for parity's sake, I'll say that quali on the last 2 is phenomenal. Specifically the top 10 shootouts. Gets a bit car parky in Q1, shall I say. But I mean, Singapore's an interesting one because, well, it's a street circuit, but Japan's great, but also incredibly difficult to overtake on. So you see a lot of dive bombs into turn 1, and that's probably it, I'd say.
Yeah, if I remember, I'm gonna watch some races on F1 TV. If I remember.
There's a cracking one. I think it's 2005.
Yeah.
Where
Kimi.
Raikkonen comes storming through the field. So that would be my one to watch for Japan. As for what I'm looking forward to, purely on the fact that we had great races there this year and last year, Austria and Monza are my two. Because if they can both go 3 for 3, I will be highly impressed. But I also think that they're just the nature of the circuit is one that sort of throws spanners in works quite nicely. The amount of, especially Monza, the amount of full throttle you get if something goes wrong, that's it. It leaves everything open. We saw it this year. AlphaTauri did not have a good weekend. Yuki didn't even start, and Gasly lasted about 4 laps before in the actual race. Sprint race incidents aside.
Sprint races, I think.
Oh god, yeah, we're gonna have more of those apparently
Oh,
next year.
yes.
Woo! Yeah, we'll see when they announce what actually happens. Hopefully, somewhat earlier in the schedule than they did for this year. When did they actually officially announce that Brazil was the third sprint? Because we all knew it was, but they never actually said.
I think it was like just before Monza or Belgium. It was sometime like that.
So, and then least looking forward to Monaco. Anyone?
I know, because Monaco, it's Monaco and the cars are different, so there's the hope.
Monaco for me is just a Saturday show, really.
Yeah.
Just very glad they didn't add a sprint.
That would make sense.
That would literally have just been, it's an extra third of a race. So I don't know. Part of me wants to believe that Monaco can be interesting with the changes that we've got coming, but the other part of me is also very much, it's Monaco.
Expect disappointment and you won't be disappointed.
I've got my answer actually. Saudi Arabia.
Not looking forward to Saudi Arabia.
No, no one likes Saudi Arabia.
It's such a short turnaround. I'm not going to have time to make any changes that we want them to make.
You just get thrown away.
Just like the human rights.
Let's hope this year they actually get the circuit done a day before, at least a day before.
Well, I think they're just going to leave it up because they're going back so soon.
And not hours before FP1 or Formula 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was a bit of a palaver, shall we say. What else do we want to do? Do we want to say early predictions for champion?
No. Last year, did we do it after or before testing?
We did it after testing, but that was just because of how late that we formed as a unit.
Yeah, I feel like we should do one pre-testing and one
post-testing.
Isn't there 2 testing?
Yeah. For there's usually 2 weeks of testing, but they're usually both the same venue.
It's Bahrain and Barcelona this time, isn't it?
Yeah, other way around though, because they're doing and then they'll go straight into the race weekend sort of thing.
Are we doing one before, and we can change it if we realize, they did really bad?
Yeah, we'll do our tentative pre-testing predictions, and then we'll do our pre-season post-test predictions, which will basically be us going, so Haas are the world champions.
Yes, well, we got that horribly wrong.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to rejig their entire driver's grid to try and make the teams work.
Let's
get the sandbags out.
Haas.
Oh, God.
Oh, that was what it was last year, wasn't it? Testing. Just
Yeah.
everyone putting the sandbags somewhere.
Oh, could you imagine if someone gets spotted in the Haas garage with an actual sandbag? That would be hilarious. I honestly, I think their social media team should just organise that just for the jokes, because that would be absolutely amazing.
I think Merc would do that because it makes more sense for Merc to do it than Haas because they're already slow.
Yeah, but Haas have spent so much of this year developing
That's
next
true,
year's
yeah.
car that they can be like, yeah, we're so quick, we're just going to put this in to keep it fair.
Yeah, we remade their seats. Yeah, it's made out of sandbags now.
So back at the start of the season, we made our predictions on where each driver would finish within the Drivers' Championship and where each team would finish within a Constructors' Championship, with the premise that if you got a prediction exactly correct with its final result, that you would score 3 points, and if you were plus or minus 1 place from that, you would get 1 point instead. So if you predicted that Haas would come 10th, and they did indeed come 10th, you got 3 points. But if you predicted Haas 9th, you'd only get 1. So with that being said, Constructors first.
Sure.
In 4th place is me on 10 points. In joint 3rd is Chris and Ben, because they had the same list,
Yeah.
on 14 points. In 2nd place is Alex on 15 points. And in 1st place on 20 points is Nia.
I came prepared this week for that. I'm doing a max. I got a 12-5. I came prepared.
And in
Just
the
in case.
Drivers' Championship, in 5th place is me on 18 points. In 4th place is Ben on 21. 3rd place is Chris on 23. 2nd place is Alex on 27, which means that in 1st place on 29 points is Nia again.
I'm not doing it again.
So not only have you got, well, you're now essentially in the same position that Mercedes were in last year. You're now defending Constructors and Drivers champion from the pre-season one anyway. I haven't quite figured out where we're at with, oh, actually I have got it here. Oh god. In our pole/podium prediction championship throughout the season, in 6th place, unsurprisingly, is Chris on 82 points. In 5th place is Alex on 90 points. 4th place is Sonia on 97 points. 3rd place is Ben on 103 points. 2nd place is me on 111 points, which means in 1st place on 115, because you got a full house on last bloody round.
Yeah.
You your Tesco Ashbeck water was 115 points. And Nia, god damn it.
Yeah.
So Nia won
Everything.
apart from one thing. And that's F1 fantasy, which I shall include because I was top. So
Just because I forgot to play my Mega Drive, all right?
I remember the last place.
I know,
Then
and you overtook me, and
I
I
know.
was so disappointed. Which is why I wasn't going to bring it up.
We've got bold and massive and bingo as well.
I haven't counted the bold predictions because it went sort of all over the place. But Mazepin Bingo, 5th place is Ben.
Yeah.
4th place is me. 3rd place is Nia. And the 2nd place with 1 bingo is Chris. But 1st place with 1 bingo but winning on countback is Alex. Because I think it was yeah, Alex and Chris both had one bingo, but all three of you had won 5 weeks. So Nia, you're just missing a bingo. What a shame. Bold predictions we had from the start of the season. Ben, I'm sorry, your Alfa Romeo podium did not happen.
Was so close as well.
Oh,
Yeah, just need to cross out one of those ones in 11th. There you go.
Yeah.
Chris is, well, one of his 2 predictions came off. He said more red flags, and then specifically said Baku. So, but then he's also said Hulkenbach. So, no. We had Hugh Backer. Yeah, that's why it didn't take off. Alex's bold prediction was, well, he had 2. One of them was very close. One of them, I don't think so. His first one was Vettel race ban. I feel like that's not happens purely because Vettel's got somewhat more comfortable with the car than he did in that first weekend. And then his second one, which was 5 teams and 7 drivers to win races. And really, unfortunately, it was 4 teams and 6 drivers.
Oh.
Which is a bit gutting because it was Lewis, Max, Checo, Bottas, Danny, and Ocon. And it's unfortunate that.
We got half of it if Lando didn't pick up at Russia.
Yeah.
But
Thank
not
you
listening.
for my Vietnam flashbacks.
I know, I remember myself sad.
Nia Williams P8. Yeah. And mine, 5 McLaren podiums. 4 from Lando Norris and 1 from Danny Rick. That's a big dub from me. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I called it. I thought 5 might be a bit much, but then pulled it out the bag. Well, Lando pulled it out the bag. What did we say we were doing next week? Because oh, here we go. Oh, support series. Oh no, next week is the 3rd. So, oh, that's helpful. If we shove everything back, that's filled in our 1 week gap we had. So it's support series next week. So brush up on your Frecker.
We're not doing that.
No, brush up on your F2, 3, and W series.
I'm gonna do a bit about the Renault Clio Cup.
George Russell's short-lived entry. So we'll bring you our reviews of those 3 support series next week.
Cup not included.
Terms and conditions apply on whether I can find any footage of the Renault Clio Cup from this year. And I'm not including Frecker because although it's all on YouTube, it is just carnage.
There's like 2 races a week.
Yeah.
And 20 drivers.
I have enough fun as it is without having to watch God knows how many hours of Frecker between now and then.
No one is quite that sort of you're going to win anyway, so.
Well, exactly, yeah.
As much time we could time to win, we knew it was going to be our ART sort of.
So with that said and done, we will wrap things up here. Thank you for watching/listening. And if you want to get involved with our season predictions for 2022, we will put out some kind of form thing because I think it's slightly too long for a tweet. before our next episode, our actual episode of predictions goes out. So look out for that. I guess late February, just before
Yeah.
testing, somewhere around there.
Around the livery reveals.
Yeah.
It'll be around then.
So, with that said and done, thanks for listening, watching, and whatever you're doing alongside that, and goodbye.